I first heard of online weddings back in May of this year, and I must say that I was truly sceptical. I mean, how's it possible or even legal to marry someone you've never met in person before? My first thought was, this must be a scam. Back in May of this year, I did a video on this showing that in fact it is legal in the USA and Australia and possibly other countries where you can go through Utah online weddings and for a fee you can legally marry your Filipina. I'll put a link to Utah online weddings in the description. Now be aware here, that doesn't mean you can necessarily apply to bring you to your country on a spousal visa, because for both the USA and Australia, you have to have met your Filipina in person to be able to apply for such a visa. But there is a way around this for those who are yet to meet their Filipina in person. I know many of you have been in a long-distance relationship where it's been impossible for you to travel to the Philippines because of the pandemic. But some are finding a way for the two to be actually together as husband and wife. Now I have to tell you that I'm no expert in this area. I'm only telling you what I've learnt. So before going down this road, I'd speak with a professional migration agent around this, or at least become very familiar with the laws on this in your country around online weddings and any visas such as spouse visas you may need. So what some couples are doing now to beat the system legally is to marry the Filipina online. She can be in the Philippines and you can be in your country. There'll be a legal marriage celebrant and each of you will have witnesses to the marriage who don't necessarily need to be in the same place as the bride or the groom. It's reasonably quick and inexpensive as far as weddings go, and the couples I've seen taking part in such ceremonies really do seem to enjoy the experience. And I point out here that these online weddings are not just for residents of the US, they're open to anyone from just about any country. Now for those of you who have met each other in person in the previous 2 years, after you have your marriage certificate, you can then apply for a spouse or partner visa, which I do hear is quicker in the USA than the K1 fiancé visa. For those that are still to meet in person, what some are doing to get around this issue is the man who's now legally married to the Filipina is getting on a plane and going to the Philippines. Well, at least guys from the US are doing this, as Australia are holding all their citizens hostage inside their own country at this time. But for those that can get to the Philippines, they'll spend their initial time in quarantine before being united with his Filipina, where they'll consummate the marriage simply by virtue they've now met each other and spent quality time together. Now such guys from the USA have ticked all the boxes required to be able to apply for a spousal visa for his new Filipina wife to come and live with him in the US. These guys are waiting in the Philippines with the Filipina and no doubt getting to know her at a more personal level until a visa gets approved before flying back with her to the USA to commence their lives together. Now I've seen stories where such guys have decided to marry the Filipina within just a week of meeting her online, and within 3 months they're legally married. Now everyone can please themselves what they want to do in life and love, but to me this is a highly risky move to marry a woman that you've never even met in person. I know some of these guys make prenups to protect their financial assets, but one mustn't forget the emotional damage that can be caused, and let's just hope that the prenup stands up in a court of law if tested. And let's not forget the financial side of things in what the online wedding costs, the spouse visa, the cost of going to the Philippines to stay for possibly a year or longer, general living expenses and the flights back home. Now I'm guesstimating that the eventual cost could run anywhere up to $25,000 for the average person, and that's nothing to be sneezed at. As I said earlier, if you've met your Filipina in the previous 2 years, then after the online wedding, you'll be able to apply for the spousal visa and then bring her straight into the US once approved. And even in Australia, where travel exemptions for spouses of Aussie citizens are also being approved. I know for a fact that Filipinas are being brought into Australia and the US as a result of the Utah online weddings. And yes, to my surprise, it's all totally legal and not a scam. For those of you who live in other countries, then you'll need to check out the local laws around online weddings and the processes around spousal or partner visas to bring your Filipina to your country. But I have to say that this is something I wouldn't venture into unless I'd met her previously where my wedding plans were impacted by COVID. But to marry a woman that I've never met in person in order to commence a life together is not really something that's likely to work out, no matter how much you think that you've screened the Filipina over the internet. Because the simple truth of the matter is, we won't know for sure until we spend much quality time together. For those of you wishing to roll the dice and go down this road, then I wish you all the best. And be sure to cover all your bases so you don't regret it later. For those guys in the US, I can highly recommend Filipino Visa, where you can contact them via my affiliate link in the pinned comment and description to get your free, no obligation consultation. And for those guys in Australia, I can highly recommend Jeff Harvey from Down Under Visa, who I'm not affiliated with, but have used his services to bring my daughter to Australia. So be sure to reach out to Jeff on this, who will give you very accurate advice. I'll put a link in the description to his website. I'd really love to hear from anyone who's completed an online wedding, and in fact I'd be interested in doing a video with you, so please reach out. To everyone else, please let me know your respectful views on online weddings and why or why not it's something you would or wouldn't consider. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.